Hi, good evening, everyone. This is Alamjeet Flora from the Wednesday Talk Show. Welcome to our show, which is brought to you by Pothos Events Sweden. We are catering here to all the audience, largely on this part of the continent. That's Sweden, Norway, UK. So, thanks for joining us every week and encouraging us to bring more bold topics to you. We have been having very intense topic in the past 2 3 sessions, and thank you for appreciating them. So we continue our journey. Let's open up, let's talk about issues that need to be talked about. So we have a very interesting guest again today, and she's doing wonderfully well. I'm super proud to bring her to you guys today. So we have Aditi Surana. She's joining us from India. Aditi is a podcaster and she's doing extremely well. She's ranked number 3 on Apple with her latest podcast. So I would love to know more from her. Let's bring her on. She is a behavioral coach and she's also an anti anxiety expert. She's a lot more. You will find out more when she's there with us. So let's bring in Aditi. Let's welcome her here.
Hi.
Hello, Aditi.
Hi, Aljit. Thank you so much for having me on this conversation. I know we decided around, I think, 3 months back to do this,
Yes.
and thoroughly looking forward to it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for being with us, and your guidance and your insights, your expertise is going to be so much appreciated. We are going to be talking about a topic that thankfully people are going to they have started opening up on this issue. And you are a founder uh, of APT, which is India's first ever emotional gym.
And
Uh,
mental gym, yes. So
Mental gym,
actually
right, right.
we
So
actually
please tell us
thought
more
that.
about.
Sorry. I we actually decided during the pandemic we realized everybody was doing workouts online, people were doing yoga online, and we said
Yeah.
there's so much being spoken about physical health, and so many influencers kept saying just go out and or like just be physically active. If you can't leave the house, just go on your terrace, but just make sure you take care of your body. And nobody
Right,
spoke about mental health in the same manner. We
right,
generally go and deal with our mental issues when we are breaking down, when things are going horribly wrong. And we said that that cannot be our new normal. For our new normal, we have to cultivate ways in which we are working on our mental health on a regular basis. And that's why we started India's first mental gym. The idea is to give you tools, ways, methods so that when you fall down, because all of us do, we go through emotions, we go through hormonal changes, we go through so much. Now, when we fall down, we should have the techniques and methods to deal with it. We can't stop the fall, and that's inevitable. And we all have understood it. Situations will cause it, relationships will cause it. But if we are equipped, then we can come out of it faster, smoother, and I think
yeah.
wiser. That's the attempt.
Yes, that's fantastic. And tell us more about your this amazing podcast that you're doing. I would love my viewers. I've shared your link, so I really,
Thank
request them
you.
to go and have a, look there, go and listen to you because you're sharing some amazing tidbits. So please tell us
Thank
more
you.
on that also.
So the podcast is called Daily Mental Fitbit. And as the name suggests, it is literally like mental fitness hacks or tips or changing perspective kind of conversation just in 3 minutes. So again, making mental health more accessible. The whole conversation, I don't believe mental health should be like this serious conversation. I believe it should be palatable, easy, fun if possible, and that's why
Yeah.
it's going to be very attractive for younger generation, for executives who are otherwise busy to really find their own balance. So we decided to make it like a bite-sized 3-minute short podcast, and the response is phenomenal. We are thrilled. So the name is Daily Mental Fitbit. So do check it out. We are already number 3, as you mentioned, in the Apple mental health category,
Yes.
and we're getting great response from our listeners, so that's like really really sweet.
Yeah, fantastic. You are right. Like on number 3 next to Jay Shetty, he's number 1, and then you come very close to that. So, guys, I know many of you follow him, so you know what I'm talking about. Who is the guest today? So, let's dwell more into this emotional topic that we have. We are having this topic of emotional health. So, talking about emotional health, there has been, as you just said, there's been a lot of turmoil in this past 2 years. So, what is your take on emotional imbalance? And you have met so many people. So, what's really the whole thing going on? Where do people need to focus?
So I feel we understand emotions.
Yeah.
All our learnings, all our insights are based on our family members, on
Yeah.
all the fiction that we have read, or the movies that we have watched. So every
Yeah.
time we look at how I feel emotionally, we have references which come from these three categories of people. And most of them are not necessarily suitable for you. You're not always doing the healthiest thing. We
Yeah.
see those breakups are dealt with a big tub of chocolate, and we think that also I should also feel the same way. If I'm throwing a tantrum, or if someone else is throwing a tantrum, I should react in a manner that the other person does not treat me like that. Now all
Yeah.
these things we have learned, and we know, you and I have gone through our personal stories, we have observed people around us to know that
Yeah.
it has not worked for us.
Yes.
No matter how beautifully we tried to show up and like pretend also in some ways, it has not worked. And that's why we felt that jolt during the pandemic, when we were confronted by the truth, or we were stuck with the people who knew us for who we were, or
Right.
many people were stuck with themselves and they couldn't hide the truth. So what happened during the pandemic was not only for the pandemic, it was happening any which ways. We were
Yeah.
just not looking at it. The
Correct.
pandemic just forced us, the held the mirror, and we had to look at our emotions. So, a few
Hmm.
things about emotions. I feel emotions are always in patterns. No
Right.
matter how emotionally volatile you are always predictable, at least to yourself. But we
Yeah.
don't take out time to find the patterns. You feel angry a certain way, you feel sad a certain way, you feel
Triggered.
offended a certain way, triggered a certain way. So there's something that is happening that might be unpredictable for others, but
Yeah.
you are predictable to yourself. Your emotions constantly follow a path that you might have not noticed yet, but that doesn't mean there is no path.
Right.
So, when we start observing our emotions, we should know what is the level of trigger degree that we move from one trigger to second trigger to third trigger. We are building that pent up emotion. And when you reach the reaction point, is where people try to stop it. They're like, oh my God, I don't want to react. I don't want to look angry. I don't want to look upset. But that is almost like trying to stop the pressure cooker from the
Bursting.
whistle to go off. It's not going
Yeah.
to happen, right? You can't stop it at that point.
Right.
So when it comes to emotional baggage, mostly it is created because we don't identify the patterns.
Yeah. True.
And we have to start doing things to know what is your trigger point and how do you react to that trigger.
Yeah. So, what you're trying to imply also is a lot of self talk and a lot of self awareness that one needs to develop.
Self talk, I don't know, because self talk can be very colorful.
Mhm.
Mostly we talk ourselves into overthinking, we talk
Yes.
ourselves into anxiety. So that person talking to you when you're feeling anxious is also the same person within you. So
Right.
self talk, I don't know, but yes, self awareness for sure. But
Mhm.
also creating ways in which we gamify this. I'll give you an
Okay.
example.
Yeah.
uh, 1 month on the mental gym, we took the topic of rejection. Now, all
Mhm.
of us feel all the panting, the sweaty palms when we are about to be rejected or after we feel rejected in a relationship, on a job, professionally, personally, right? And that's a big issue. They say that you can be scared of a snake bite and public rejection, and your body will react the same way, which
Mhm.
means that is the level of fear that we experience when we fear rejection.
Yes.
And so the natural tendency is like talk yourself out of it, or like avoid rejection, or be so confident. But I requested our participants to go and seek rejection. I said,
Oh,
can we go and find 7 rejections that we were avoiding for the longest time, and look
okay.
at what happens in your body, what happens in your mind.
Mhm.
You can think about, even listeners or viewers today can think about 3 things that they're avoiding rejection on. It could
Yeah.
be writing to that professor for your next PhD project. It could be finding whether your business idea is really valid or not, or talking to the person that you're avoiding talking to. It could be anything, but literally picking up three ideas where you are avoiding rejection for the longest time and walking into it being prepared for rejection.
Yeah.
So you
So
mentally prepare. Say, okay, instead of saying, I will not be rejected, say, what if I get rejected by this person? What will I do then? You
hmm,
mentally prepare yourself with three possibilities of what would you do after you get rejected. So you are
right.
literally walking into it to receive
Prepare.
rejection. And most people, most participants said, I thought in my mind that it would be such a big deal. But for this person, for this conversation, it wasn't a big deal. And they were
Yeah.
rather surprised by how easy it was for the other person to help them instead of rejecting them. But in our
Yeah.
mind, in our self talks, we literally build scenarios.
Yeah, true, true. It really, it hampers your decision making also when you
Completely.
are in that mode. Yeah, very true. And also, how can we adapt, like there is being emotionally healthy because there are so many challenges that we are facing now. So, what is your take on that?
So I feel emotions function through our bodies. So if you're
Hmm.
feeling emotional about something, so it's my favorite line, and I said it in one of our social initiatives when the lockdown happened. We did 21-day anti-anxiety journaling workshop, and I
Okay.
spoke about different ways in which you can look at anxiety to change perspective. And more than 12,000 people have gone through that process in the last 2 years now. And
Wow.
I feel when we looked at that, I said that this line there, I said, when your body feels helpless, lead with your mind. And when your
Hmm.
mind feels useless, lead with your body.
How do you do that? Like, can you give some
So
examples?
yeah. So to begin with, when you're feeling all the palpitations, everything, one is you begin with knowing what happens in your body when you're going through stress, when you're getting emotional, when you're feeling, do you feel the pressure in upper back or do you feel somebody's punching in your stomach? Do you feel your lower back is like stressed or do you hold your, clench your jaw? You got to know what your body's reactions are and go through your physical instrument to calm yourself down, because when your mind is getting useless, which means it is creating all the scenarios where you're feeling emotional, when you're feeling stuck, when you're feeling helpless, that time telling your mind to calm down does not work. But
Hmm.
that time, if you take your body for a walk, and I use this term, take your body for a walk as if you're taking a dog for a walk, but literally take
That's
your body into, say, natural environment. You can do 5 4 3 2 1 technique where you look at 5 things that you can see, 4 things that you can touch, 3 things that you can taste, 2 things you can smell, 1 thing that you like, literally like you go all sense by sense, and you do the 5 4 3 2 1 technique. By the
oh,
time you do that, you engage your body there, and that allows your mind to be calmer.
wow.
There's a technique that we use called Calm Sutra S stroke practice, and
Yes.
that stroke is literally like S looking formation, but you
Hmm.
learn that specifically. There are 5 steps that we follow, and it's a breath coordinated stroke. So when you do the stroke, when you do it for say 10 minutes, and your breathing is always deeper than your normal breath. So when
Yeah.
you practice it, immediately within like 3 to 5 minutes, people have reported that their mind becomes calmer because body is becoming calmer.
Mhm.
But don't try to stop the mind. It's almost like a snowball effect. It is like, that snowball is building and gravity is pulling it, and you're trying to stop your reaction. It's not going to work.
Right.
Am I frozen by any chance?
Yeah. I was just hoping you come back, but you
Yeah.
look
Okay.
like, oh.
Yeah. I
But
also
I
feel like,
think
I don't know.
you'll be fine. You'll be fine. Yeah, it's
Okay.
not. You still look
Do you think I
frozen.
have to exit and join again? Should I do that?
Um, yeah, you can probably try that or yeah, because yeah, do that because you'll be better. At least we can see you.
Yeah, yeah. I feel so.
Ah, now
I'm
you're
back.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah, but still frozen.
I'm still
Okay.
frozen. Okay.
No, 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 you're fine now.
Okay.
So we have Saral and Upasna who have joined us, and they're totally enjoying your tidbits and your,
Thank you.
insights. So they're saying, "Wow," both of them.
Thank you. Thank
Uh,
you. Thank you. Thank
yeah, they were amazing tips, because we are always feeling very anxiety driven sometimes in many situations, especially going before like an interview, or even maybe for a child. If my child today wanted to ice skate and I was so nervous for her. So it
you.
was like that, things like these small issues, and if we can just help ourselves, that's really wonderful. And I was talking about this show to a friend of mine who's also a viewer. And there was a very interesting question that came, that how do you measure being emotionally balanced? Like, what are the points
How
that
beautiful.
that, okay, things are going out of hand, or here I need to, control myself? And what's your take?
So, so I believe a lot in using body as your instrument. For example, when you are not on a right diet or you're not sleeping well, you know how we have skin breaking out, and you know
Hmm.
that's something you need to change because your skin is not at its optimum, and you know how it feels when it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Similarly, your sleep is a great mirror to know how emotionally healthy you are.
Oh, yes.
So sleep, people like think, oh, I am not able to sleep and I should do something about the sleep. No, no, no. You should do something about your lifestyle otherwise, because
Hmm.
sleep is a mirror that shows that how your mind is functioning throughout the day. So if you are feeling hyper, if you're overactive, or you're feeling really drowsy throughout the day, then your energy level is gonna get impacted and you won't have great sleep. So sleep, physical and mental energy, alertness, and
Hmm.
hunger are three denominators or three indicators for you to know whether you're emotionally healthy or not.
Yeah.
We think it's
Yeah.
only about physical condition. It cannot happen. Body and mind are like closely associated. If one gets impacted, other one will show the results. So why not to use the other to know that okay, my sleep is off. That means
Hmm.
I might think I'm okay, but something is off with me. Let me investigate. So these are indicators. Second stage is where you start investigating. Investigation is asking yourself questions. And the question cannot be why me, why things go wrong with me. Those can't be the questions. By questions, I mean we must ask solution oriented questions to ourselves. Like, for example, if give me a situation, I'll tell you what we can do.
In a situation like, supposing you get rejected for a job or something like that.
Okay. So when we get rejected, we make the rejection very significant. So the
Mhm.
question could be, if I do not make this rejection very significant, what would I change here?
Yeah.
Okay. So the very moment you ask that question, you're like, oh, yeah, of course I'm making it significant. That's why I'm feeling upset. If I
Yeah.
don't make it significant, then what would I change here? Now,
True.
the very moment you ask a question like that, your mind, like a Google search engine, would go and come up with multiple solutions. If you stand there and say, how can I be rejected? It will also use a Google search engine application and come up with multiple reasons why you are rejected. You're not good enough. Your mom also told you that. Your teacher is always. So it actually does the same job.
Yeah.
So we have normalized being anxious. We have
Yeah.
normalized reacting. We have normalized feeling all messed up. And because we don't have tools and methods, imagine a world where there are no gyms, physical workout gyms. Now, people may carry 2 kgs and they would feel exhausted. They're like, oh my God, I'm so tired, I'm so exhausted. Now, the same world where people, work out and they go to
150.
gym. Yeah, and forget about let's humanly, like 20 kgs, whatever they keep picking up every day. Now they
Yeah.
carry 10 kgs, they won't get exhausted as much.
True.
Now, same with our emotional makeup. Exactly the same thing. So when we are emotionally exhausted, we believe that, oh my God, my life is not working. But that's because we haven't done anything for our emotions to be stable.
Yes.
So on a regular basis, Like use techniques like journaling regular basis. There are
Mm.
so many podcasts, like I'm like barring our podcast also, there are so many podcasts available which help you meditate, sleep better, think about things in a different perspective. There are so many experts available. If you make anything as a regime to work towards your mental development on a regular basis, only 5 to 10 minutes a day, if you commit to it, that's also good enough. Because Amaljeet, when we get worked up on a regular basis, like imagine your daughter's uh, skiing class, skating class.
Ice skating, yeah, skiing also, yeah.
Yeah, so you were worked up and your mind went all over the place and you thought about how is she going to manage. Everything happened. Now that is winding up. You,
Hmm.
on a regular basis, you might be doing it because you are in this field and you talk to so many people, but generally we don't do anything to unwind ourselves.
Right.
So on that wound up mind, you slept, you woke up next morning with that winding still there, and then you got wound up again and wound up again and wound up again. And you're like, oh my God, it feels so stressful. Because
Yes.
we do not do anything to unwind it.
Hmm. True. Yeah, wondering what I could do better to just, because what happens is you pass on that energy to the child, I feel, you're so worked up. So it just goes to, it can happen in any situation. I'm just giving you my example. Sometimes you're
Sure.
so nervous that it just plays on somebody else, maybe.
And when
So,
it comes to nervousness, we can't pretend. Like, we
yeah,
can't pretend to be calm. Like
yeah,
even if you try to look calm, your body gives away, your voice gives away. So
yeah,
you got to be calm in order to be in control of a situation. Now that's something that is in a way important, essential, mandatory. And if we don't practice being calm, then we won't be able to build things up. One more point I want to make is stress is not always bad. We all
yeah,
require certain amount of stress to move forward, certain amount of stress to build ourselves to the next level. So we want that level of stress because how when we started cooking for the first time it was so challenging, or driving for the first time it was so challenging,
good
and
point.
it gave us all nervousness. And now you can drive and you can eat, you can be talking to the person sitting next to us. So there are so many things that we can do while we are driving because we just went beyond the stress levels.
Yes.
So, anywhere you are stressed out, instead of avoiding that area, look at it and go for skill building.
Hmm.
Like
Okay.
that is an indicator. Anything that is stressing you out, that means you don't have skill set to deal with it with smooth energies. It's not that you're weak, it's not that you are broken always. It's only like sometimes it only means you don't know how to do it. You don't know how to deal with rejection, and that's why it is such a big deal. You don't know what will you do if your child gets injured or gets scared while doing ice skating. Now if you talk to experts, if you find out what can you do in case something goes wrong, you would be mentally more prepared.
Right. Yeah.
Right? But mostly, whatever we are scared of, our natural tendency is to avoid confrontation. You're like, no, that area, I'm going to do anything but that, is what we tend to do. But if
True.
you say, okay, if I'm scared, it shows that I need to work on it. If I feel uncomfortable, that means I don't have answers. And what if you learn and practice walking into a situation because you don't have answers?
Yeah. True. And you spoke about confrontation. It's not always a very smooth process to do that.
No?
So, yeah, so that's another challenge which puts you back and gives you more anxiety, I feel, you know.
So I'm
Like,
a high performance coach, right? I'm the person like always putting the bell on all the horrible cats, all the toughest egoistic cats in the team. And these are the CEOs and CXOs I work with. So what I have come to realize that confrontation can give you anxiety when you feel that only one outcome should be out of that conversation.
hmm, yeah,
Which
that's an
means if
interesting
I
way to
speak with
look at it.
you,
Yeah,
yeah, if I speak with you, then you should get convinced with what I'm speaking with you about. If
correct.
you
You
don't
are
get
open
convinced,
to
I don't have a
other.
backup plan. I don't have
Mhm.
a backup plan. But if you walk into any confrontation situation thinking about, instead of saying this should be the outcome, if you walk in saying that we want to find the best possible outcome that works for you and works for me, and we're going to find it as a team. So
Yeah.
literally, problem is in front of us and not between us.
Right.
So if you
No,
if
that's
you start practicing this, okay, as a couple, and when we start getting egoistic and how we want to like prove one another wrong, that is the anxious
exactly.
part of it. Yeah, like that's the
Exactly.
frustrating part of it. So there we pause and we say, okay, wait a minute. Now we are making the problem about each other, but the problem is in front of us. As parents, you must be doing that beautifully when it comes to your child's education. We do that beautifully as professionals when we understand there's a customer or a client waiting, and now we can't be talking about your or my preference. We got to deal with the situation.
Yeah.
But in personal spaces, we make it as like my way or highway, my word versus your word. Now, if we constantly say, okay, so what do we want to achieve here? If you want to achieve, say, a harmonious home, or if you want to achieve a clean house, whatever is that objective, and I'm
Yeah.
not confronting you because you should follow my way, I'm confronting you or I'm having this conversation because we need to fix the problem.
Right.
If we constantly keep, and I read it in one of the, I watched it in one of the interviews of Jay Shetty when he was speaking with his wife, and he said
Mhm.
this, he said between both of us we constantly keep the problems in front of us and not between us, and literally physically thinking about it, imagining the problem to be in front of us and both of us being a team has helped me through multiple conversations. I would like, that's,
Wow. That's very well. I think every couple should follow this because what really happens is what you're saying, it's very difficult to come to a solution.
and
When,
also it happens between parents and kids.
yeah, yeah,
Kids feel that parents are dominating them, constantly deciding for them. So when you say,
yeah,
okay, but if we start deciding what we want as an objective, then we can start having a conversation.
right, right, right. I know many mothers are going to be very happy. You've shared so many, things for them. Also, like, let's come to your very interesting, Kama Sutra. So which is helping so many guys. The name is CALM Sutra. So we are talking
Yeah, you said it's Kama
just be
Sutra is
clear.
helping so many people. So I'm sure all the women are like, what's happening here? Like, no, it's
Yeah, I
Kama
know what
Sutra.
are these
We talk
ladies
about
going to talk
calmness.
about now. Okay. So, Aditi, please tell us about this because I know you are helping so many people, and I think viewers, you must go and check out her website also. She has so beautifully done this for a long time. So, Aditi, please tell us about it.
So the website link is aditisurana.com/Kam Sutra. You can learn this particular stroke that we're going to talk about for free. It's a free tutorial. The idea started just before the pandemic, where I'm a dyslexic. So for last 17, 18 years, whenever I have to speak with people or when I have to do public presentations, that's not my strongest suit. Now I'm a podcaster, I am a coach, so I speak for like 8 to 12 hours every single day professionally, but that's not my strongest suit. And to be able to find my connection, to be able to find my flow in the conversation, I started practicing it. My mom at that time was diagnosed with diabetes type 2. Now, if you know about diabetes type 2, it is a stress induced disease. So that time I said, okay, if this means stress and that means calmness, so I, as an experiment, asked my mom to practice this particular stroke. And within 6 months, her doctor was surprised that her sugar levels were stable. He started
Wow.
reducing her medicines and he eventually stopped it because it actually became stable. From then till now, the sugar levels have never gone off and she does not have diabetes at all. So it's
Amazing.
almost 15 years. Now, that gave me huge confidence, and I started teaching this stroke to pretty much every single person I came across as part of a therapy. Now, during the pandemic, when we realized that people are going really crazy and feeling anxious about everything, in 2020 March, the day India went in the lockdown, we decided to teach this stroke to as many people as possible. So that became like a mantra in first 3 months. And for the first 3 months, we worked for 16 hours a day, Amuljit. It was like non-stop working. We did Insta lives possible. We did workshop. We replied to everybody, and we're a
Mm.
small team of 5 people. So we didn't have that much bandwidth to deal with so many
And
questions and
it's
answer
a
everybody.
manageable job. Yeah.
No, but I felt like that's everybody should take their weight of responsibility in a situation like that,
Yeah.
and especially when we had no clue what we were against. We thought we can talk about anxiety for sure, which we did. And that stroke, by now, I think we released a video in Hindi for people. In English, obviously, it is there, and it's practiced by more than 20,000 people. We keep receiving people messages where people say that I practiced it during COVID. I think the first two COVIDs where the mental delusion was a big problem. My
Yes.
father is going through this, and I asked him to practice that. 60, 65 people have practiced it. So
Yeah.
anybody from age of 5 to 85 can practice this stroke, and it's
Yeah.
amazingly calming stroke.
Yes, it is. I have tried it because when we did our first show together, I tried it after that. It's really very
Alright.
nice. It's really very nice.
And
It just takes you in that trance. You are in a trance after a while. Like you're so
absolutely.
off mentally, you somewhere feel so settled. It's really nice, Aditi. That one is really good. So
And
to
honestly, I
those,
felt, what if I died during the pandemic? I literally
oh,
believed in it because everybody was vulnerable to die and an infection. I'm like, what if I die? I have to leave behind something that I have discovered through last 17, 18 years. So I started teaching the
oh,
stroke mainly for
oh
that
my God.
reason. I'm like, just learn this so that at least I would not feel I have not done my job.
You've done much more than that. You've touched so many lives, and now with your new podcast, Daily Fit Mental Fitbit. So you're
Mental
going to
Fitbit.
be, yes, you're going to be doing much, much more and touching many more people. So great
I
on
also
that.
feel the need is so strong. Like I have
Yes.
never seen people crumbling like this, Amanjit. We offered 4 free sessions every single day of the lockdown. So I have spoken one on one to 385 people in 3 months, first 3 months of the lockdown.
Wow.
And I have never experienced this. Like I was, as a coach, you see a lot, and 17 years of practice, so you've heard stories, you've dealt with people. But the intensity that I saw during the pandemic was
Mhm.
unreal. The kind of people, while doing the online calls, I could see that their bodies are shivering while even talking about their anxieties. The eyeball movement was like so rapid that I really wish I would have been there and probably, physically
Mhm.
calmed people. But so
Mhm.
much was happening. So I feel now also people feel that they're back to normal, but
Yeah.
we are changed. We have changed. We are different people altogether. So
Yeah, yeah. Where if you see life in 2018, 19, we cannot relate to that lifestyle now
of
because so
course.
much has changed. Like I was just talking to a friend yesterday. I said it's crazy that we used to go to office every day, come back every day, drop our kids every day. Like that's the kind of life, and working from home, things perspectives have changed so much in this 2 years. We have looked at things, I think, kind of 360-degree, and we are having a holistic view of what we really need, what's happening, and I'm very happy that we talk about issues and people are ready to listen, something like that. So,
And in this whole journey, if your mind is not stable, then no
hmm,
matter how amazing the environment is, how amazing the food that you're
yeah,
eating is, how good other people are around you, you just cannot enjoy it. Because I feel mental illness, in the simplest term, is where your mind has turned against you.
hmm, correct.
Instead of supporting you, instead of moving forward with you, it has turned against. So it only thinks about the negative outcomes, the fearful situations. So you're not necessarily uh, using your mental capacities to grow. You're only thinking about survival. You're only thinking about, oh my god, I shouldn't get into a problem, which is, the kind of brains that we have such huge capacity, and we're literally using it only for survival, which is a minuscule part of it. But once
Yeah.
the mind goes off, everything else becomes meaningless, and that's like the toughest part of this thing.
Yeah, yeah. Like I know we have a question coming. From Kiranji, she's asking, what is the stroke? Could you please demonstrate?
Just a minute. I'll read this.
Yeah, she was. Kiranji, you will like it. As an artist, it's a beautiful stroke. She will show it to you.
So the final stroke looks somewhat like this. Can
You'll
everybody
have to
see?
bring it closer, Aditi.
Can you see this?
Yeah, but little closer because it's getting a bit
Show
faded.
bigger
Do you have a bigger
formation.
one? Yeah, this
Yes.
is this is the one. Yes,
So this is a stroke. We
it's
call it
very
Kama
simple.
Sutra. It's very simple, but there are five instructions to follow. Always use a ballpoint pen when you do the stroke. Never use any ink pen or pencil, none of that. Always a ballpoint pen. Use a ruled book to write it on. And when you start the stroke, always start from the top here. Can you
Yeah.
see? Like here, the stroke starts from the top. So when you
Okay.
start the formation, it's always on the top. When you end it, it always ends on the line like this. So that is your point number two to keep in mind. Always start on the top, always end it on the bottom like this, on the line. The third point is all the loops should be open. The
Okay.
fourth point is to make sure that when you start the stroke, as you go about it, if your hand stops, just pick up the pen and start the next stroke. It doesn't matter how long the stroke is. What matters is how much flow you can have in that one stroke. So if you are starting here and if you're going about it, just go on and stop wherever your hand stops. The fifth point, and the most important one, is you always breathe slightly deeper than your normal breath. Not like don't get into deep breathing. That's not the objective. Whatever is your breath right now, just breathe slightly deeper than that. So again, and there's a complete video, 12-minute long video, which explains every point, and that is on the link aditisurana.com/calm sutra, CALM, calm sutra, SUTRA. So
Yeah.
again, five
I will
points.
get
You always start on the top, you always end on the bottom line like this. The when all the loops. Am I frozen again?
Yeah,
Hmm.
but we can see you. Okay.
Okay. Better? Yeah. So, 5 points again. You always start on the top, you always end on the line like this. All the loops are open. You keep the flow. The fourth point is wherever your flow stops, you stop the pen and you start the new stroke. Finally, breathe slightly deeper than your normal breath. Only 5 points to keep in mind. If you want us to check the stroke, whether you're doing it correct or not, then we are most active on Instagram. So you just have to create a story or a post and tag my Instagram handle, which is Aditi Surana, and my team will give you feedback. So whenever we receive a tagged message like that, we look at that S stroke, whether it is done properly or not, and quickly give you feedback. So do send it. We would love to do that. That is because nobody has ever spoken about handwriting can help us like this. It can help our mind. So it's a new thing, and we understand that it feels, how can this be so simple? It should be complicated, right? Like a mental solution should be really complicated. But like most things, the effective things are not always complicated. They're rather so simple that we'll end up dismissing them.
True. Thank you, Aditi, for sharing. Thank you, Kiranji, for asking that question. I'm sure many must be wanting to know that. So, thanks. Aditi, before you leave us, any message for our viewers?
So make mental health your real important companion. It is not optional. It is not something that we can ignore anymore. And if you are a parent, remember that having a mentally stable environment is the biggest gift that you can give it to your child. And I feel it's not only for you, but as a professional, as a leader, as a parent, as a spouse, when we are stable, when we are calm, when we are more available to deal with problems because we don't have ours in the mind, then we become better players in all these roles that we have.
Yeah.
And it's important that we acknowledge. So if you're feeling anxious, that doesn't mean you're weak. If you're feeling depression, that does not make you feel like a broken person. Your mind is going through a change, going through a struggle, and we just have to create an environment where it can start flourishing again. It can't be that complicated. And that's my biggest belief with which I work. I feel our mental health cannot be complicated. We have made it complicated. We are dealing with problems, yes, but it cannot be complicated in a long run. So we have to somewhere say, okay, I don't know how to do it, but once I decide that I got to find a solution, I will find a solution. But I just have to be clear about what I'm looking for. And do check out the Daily Mental Fitbit podcast, because I think we have a meditation segment, we have gratitude story segment. Every day, 3 minutes to just change perspective can become really phenomenal. 3 minutes, all it takes.
Thank you. Thank you, Aditi. That was wonderful. We have been joined today from, viewers from Poland, from India, as well as from Sweden, like, at least who've typed, I
Okay,
know from where they are. So, thank you so much for sharing so wonderfully with us. I'm going to share the stroke and everything on my page, and
please.
let's help people more and let's spread your word through us. So, thank you so much,
Thank
Aditi.
you so
All the
much.
best for your great work that you're doing. Bye.
Thank you for having me. It was so beautiful to have this conversation, and all the
Yes,
best,
I would
Amarjeet.
love to have
Please,
you back,
please.
because I'm going to have you back because when you were speaking, I had so many questions still popping up in my head, but time is a constraint, I know, and we can do this
Pleasure is
again.
all mine.
Yeah.
Definitely. Definitely. Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you. Thank
Thanks.
you so
Bye
much.
bye.
Bye. Hi guys, I hope we could share so much through Aditi. She's been wonderfully generous sharing all those tidbits with us. So do follow her. I'll share all her handles on my page. So go and check it out and do try the Kama Sutra stroke that she has just explained to us. It's wonderful. So thank you. And next week we are going to be joined by Pallavi Jain. She is the managing director of Krishna Diagnostic Limited. She's been doing wonderfully well from past 15 years. She's increased this company to another level. So let's get to know through this young entrepreneur how well she's doing and get inspired. So bye guys, on this note, see you next week. Bye.